What is up, guys? Rick Kackis here. Thank you so much for stopping by, and today we've got some brand spankin' new Destiny 2 news, courtesy of the Bungie weekly update that has just gone live, unveiling official information. And this is actually the last weekly update before Beyond Light launches. So in it, Bungie reveals some previews for the patch coming with Beyond Light. They talk about some new features that are extremely important to know. There wasn't a ton of information, but boy, the information that was unveiled really does matter. And let's get started. So, let's start out here with some of those new Beyond Light features. In particular, some new kiosks actually coming to the tower. So when you go into the tower on November 10th and beyond, these are some of the new things you're going to be able to find. So first off, pictured right here, we have the quest archive. Now this is going to be right next to the postmaster, and you can access this and pick up any old quests you may have discarded, and it's just going to make inventory management a lot easier, and it's going to mean you can feel a little bit safer about discarding a quest that, you know, maybe you did it, maybe you didn't, you're kind of unsure, but you want to make the room. Well, just get rid of it and then reacquire it from this quest archive. So again, that is a nice quality of life improvement. But this quest archive is actually going to be the place that you need to go if you want to acquire the new light quest on November 10th or beyond. So again, the Cosmodrome is a new area, well, a remade area coming with Beyond Light, and there's going to be a whole new player experience and quest associated with that. But if you're someone like me, if you've been playing the game for forever, obviously you're not a new player, but you can still go to this quest archive, get that quest, and then go and experience that in the Cosmodrome if you want to see what that is like. In any event, the other new kiosk being added, and boy, this is the important one. So, it's the Monument to Lost Light's Exotic Archive. Pictured right here, it's gonna be right near the vault. And here, players may acquire various exotics and legendary Pinnacle/Pursuit weapons that were once available through now retired quests. As many of these exotics were tied to lengthy quests or difficult objectives, we want to make sure their price reflected those previous efforts. So players will need an amount of Glimmer, destination materials, masterworking materials, and an Exotic Cipher or an Ascendant Shard in order to purchase the exotic or legendary which they desire. We're also introducing a new currency, Spoils of Conquest, which can only be acquired when completing raids. This currency will be required for exotics previously tied to vaulted raids. Okay, that is the official description, but again, this changes everything for so many players out there. Because we had this big lingering question of what is going to happen to all of these weapons and quests that are disappearing. So for Pinnacle Weapons, I mean, if you're trying to finish up Pinnacle's last second, maybe you don't even need to. You can just wait until this kiosk is introduced on November 10th and go and buy the Recluse. If you haven't got it, buy the Mountaintop, whatever. Now, of course, that will cost materials, that will cost Ascendant Shards, it sounds like, but you're still going to be able to direct purchase the ones you want, although they're going to be sunset. That certainly matters for PvP. And then we also had so many exotics that had their quests tied to the areas going away. So stuff like the Thorn, stuff like the Truth. If you don't do that quest and get that weapon by the end of the week, basically, this is what's going to happen to it. It's going to be available again for direct purchase, which, again, if you don't have those resources, that could be a little difficult to acquire. But for a lot of players out there, this is actually pretty good for them. This actually means that these weapons are pretty darn easy to acquire. So if you have the resources, it may not be worth struggling through the Thorn quest, for example. Just wait until you can outright buy the Thorn from this kiosk. But of course, the big one is those raid exotics, the Teraba, the Anarchy. What's happening to those? Again, they're just in this raid kiosk. The only difference is you need that new currency that's only awarded through raids. And that means that, a player who's never done a raid can't get the Anarchy. You're still gonna have to do a raid, but that presumably means you can go back and do, a garden, which is pretty easy at this point. You're over leveled, everyone knows the tactics, all that stuff. Get that currency and then go and outright buy the Anarchy, a weapon that people did like 100 runs of Scourge of the Past to try to get. Yeah, that sounds like what's gonna happen. And so the result of all of this information is essentially that if you are trying to finish up some exotics, some pinnacles, etc. before Beyond Light launches, might as well stop doing that and start grinding Grandmasters or just normal Nightfalls. Remember, it's double Nightfall loot right now to get those Ascendant Shards, to get those materials, so you can just buy them from this kiosk, I guess. However, importantly, if you don't have the Ascendant Shards, you can, as I said, also use an Exotic Cipher, but Bungie has an update on that. So they say, in the past, Exotic Ciphers were very limited in nature. While you can expect one to be available as part of the Season's Pass for Season of the Hunt Beyond Light, Xur will also offer a quest to earn one Exotic Cipher on a weekly cadence. Okay, so you can get an Exotic Cipher potentially every single week by doing a quest that Xur gives out. That is a big update as well. Now moving on from there, let's talk about some patch notes. So, for the Crucible, here are the patch notes. Feel free to pause and read them for yourself, but really nothing too big other than some out of bounds blockers on Altar of Flame, Exodus Blue, and Cauldron. Then we have some miscellaneous fixes, again nothing too big here, other than Bungie actually lists that they're finally fixing where players could have their artifact power enabled during Iron Banner matches, which was super annoying, so potentially that's not going to happen anymore. Moving on from there, we have some sandbox changes that Bungie missed from their sandbox preview. So the Traveler's Chosen Sidearm, they're reducing the muzzle flash intensity, so that's a slight buff there. The Point of the Stag, now its max power is raised to 1310, and I think that's just to account for it in future seasons, so that's pretty normal. The Divinity, they fixed a bug that prevented some weapons from dealing precision damage to the Divinity cage. So for example, the Ariana's Vow, so the Divinity is just going to be more useful now. Then Hunter Dodge, okay, this is a big one. They increased the Hunter's dodge cooldown by a few seconds. So tier 4, the old cooldown was 22 seconds, now it's 26 seconds. So Hunter Dodge straight nerfed. Okay. Those jumpy fellows aren't going to be happy about that, and I'm not sure why this is happening. It kind of came out of nowhere. In any event, for the anti-champion mod, so anti-barrier rounds will now penetrate Taken Phalanx shields, and all anti-champion mods have been shifted to armor rather than taking a weapon mod slot. Guys, this is absolutely huge because firstly, it allows you to use a backup mag, boss, spec, minor spec on your weapon, taken spec, so it does more damage overall, but it also means that anti-champion mods should now all apply to exotics. So if it's SMG armor piercing rounds, you put that on your armor. Presumably, if you put on an exotic SMG like the Risk Runner, that will work with that, and that is absolutely huge. And lastly, something the very astute of us noticed within trailers, the Orbs of Light have now been changed actually to Orbs of Power, as they can now be consumed by light and dark subclasses. So no more Orbs of Light, they're called Orbs of Power, but they do the same thing basically. Moving on from there, the last thing we're going to talk about, and something a lot of players have been asking about, preloading for Beyond Light. So here's what's happening. For PlayStation, beginning on November 8th, after 8 p.m. Pacific, you can start pre-downloading the update by going to Destiny 2, going to the options button and selecting check for updates. So make sure you do that like on the application in the main menu. Then for Xbox, it says preloading for Xbox will be available shortly after Destiny 2 has been taken offline for expected maintenance at 7 p.m. Pacific on November 9th. And for PC, it also says preload for PC will be available shortly after Destiny 2 has been taken offline for expected maintenance at the same time, 7 p.m. on November 9th. And then it also says update 3.0001 should automatically be put in the Steam download queue once it's available for preload. And then lastly, here are the storage requirements for the different versions of Destiny 2. And that's really it. Surprisingly, nothing was mentioned about the end of season event that's supposedly going to come. Like, we have this Calamity Protocol emblem associated with this. Did Bungie cancel this? Are they changing their plans? Is this going to be completely secret? We're going to have to wait and see. The one interesting hint, however, is that if you look at this download schedule for November 9th and November 10th, it's a lot of, boring information, but it does say that at 4 p.m. Pacific, in preparation for downtime, players will be removed from activities and will be required to download a small update before logging in again. And then they can log back in and play for a few hours, and then it's brought offline for the 14-hour big downtime. So potentially, is that little update at 4 p.m. to start the final Calamity Protocol event? Could be. Guys, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed, found this informative, and if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at @RickKackis. That's linked in the description down below. Again, hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.